Guys, yabona nami buye sene-voice strong. The reason I did this, I wanted to see the relevancy of saying everyone who is here is a relevant person. Sometimes people, they've got a tendency of saying that DSRAC would pull you, all the drivers, to drive you to a workshop, all to find out these people that you were brought by are just drivers. We are rubbing that away. We must be honest about these things, that every person that is here is relevant. That was the reason I did this. Then the ukuthi ngabe khona umuntu ozothi lapho. That is why bendibumngcolisa Mr. Easy. This is also an artist. But this we must push away that time whereby our stakeholders and artists see people just as officials and drivers, so that they can be able to gain trust when we are submitting, when we are questioning, when we are responding in questions that are posed in a setup of this nature. And I did not introduce Umenier next to me because of one reason. I know you're not going to take it personal. I always try to suppress what other people see as power, because other people always think that if he's being introduced in isolation from the others. But when you wake up and think of making that, what you call it, inclusivity, it also makes another person to be able to walk to that person who introduced himself and say, Many, I've got this problem. My name is so and so, I'm doing this. That was solely the reason I did not single out individuals in this setup, because I wanted you to get their names and who they are from themselves. So I hope, Mr. Slahla, I do respect you, and I did not take that at face value, and I did not do it deliberately because I was belittling the person you are amongst us. But this is just a gateway to allow even another stakeholder that sees you for the first time to be able to come to you and walk to you and share whatever sentiments that he has with in regard to what they are here for. Thank you so much, Mania.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Mtia. My name is Nkosana Sihlahla. I'm a visual artist as well, you know. I am given a responsibility of developing the visual arts, craft and design in the Eastern Cape. My office is based in King Williamstown, which is the head office of DSRAC, Department of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture. So I'm here with you. I'm part of you in everything. Everyone is willing to, everyone can ask me any question that they would love to know about the state in this industry, creative sector of visual arts, craft and design. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minier. Angkhohlola ngiphuma khona.
Molweni. Igama lami ngumfundo Mehlo Makhulu. Cultural Officer, Visual Arts and Craft, Krisani District. Kugatebe lo mthimkhulu.
Thank you, Pungan. Menier, can I walk closer with this? Or you want to join me this side? Yes, I have to.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Herbert Delaney from East London. Basically, by profession, I am a graphic designer, I'm a cinematographer. But as of today, I will be your technical specialist, so to say, on this workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Menier. Menier Herbert is asking me, do you really have to? Actually, I really had. I had to do it because most of us would love to sit behind these screens and know you better. Actually, you'll get more questions than most of us, I think, I guess. Mama, I'm sorry for that. That is kind of rude. Erin. How are you, ma'am? I'm doing fine. I'm calling you, ma'am, because you're standing like this. You want to be a ma'am. And I want you to be an artist, actually. I'm not going to introduce you.
Okay.
You are going to introduce yourself. And I am really, really happy that you managed to be here. We have been welcomed as well. And the reason you are the last person is because I want you to kick it off.
Oh dear. Okay.
And make it a point that as you kick it off, you are setting the tone so that whatever that you do lays foundation for what ought to follow. We've got 3 facilitators that will be with us. They are not yet here. Mr. Bundufika is currently on the way. And then we've got another facilitator that is also coming. During the course of the day, once they are here, I'll make it a point that they are introduced to you as well with their expertise and what is it that they are here to share. Yes, I think that's all that I wanted to do this morning. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am. Menir, is there anything that maybe, probably, perhaps, that I'm leaving behind because I do not want to run along with this and share something?
Why you are here.
Hence, I was thinking that maybe I was doing a mistake.
Yes. I think Aaron is gonna present after me. It's just a short talk, why we are here. I've been with the Department of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture for the past 25 years. We've been developing a lot. The visual arts partly, but mainly the craft sector, but on the visual arts, the only medium that we did not touch a lot is the photography side, I want maybe to thank the COVID because it opened our eyes, because during the COVID, we had to work around the province on the lockdown level, the level 1, where no one was moving around. Everyone was sitting at home because we had to implement the National Arts Festival virtually. COVID came and it caught us off guard because we did not have data that could be loaded on the system of the National Arts Festival for the virtual platform. I also want to recognize Mr. Sanele Gobinduku, one of the guys I worked with and had discussions with concerning photography. We worked with Pumela Potomani as well on the project, and Mr. Sochi, who has just left, We discussed at length about photography. The only thing I learned from them, is that they never went to school for photography. Sanele was saying that he is a self-taught, but he started to love the medium, and he even said he learned most of the things on a YouTube, Then afterwards, I started to see posts or WhatsApp posts on people that I regard most on the visual arts side. I'm happy that Umunatsika Usbusiso is here because he's one of those artists I know they are very good in painting, But I started to see him that he is involved a lot in the photography side, I know that he went to Forte for visual arts, and Forte does not provide the visual arts medium, So I would say he is, I presume that he is a self-taught as well, you know. I happen to know Mr. Ngai as well, the twin brother to the Ngai who is at the NMMU. He is working with us, but he's based in Port St. John's at the museum in Port St. John's, you know. He just started. I thought he was going to be part of us, but unfortunately now that he is employed by the department, because we were going to invite him as a stakeholder whilst he was not around us, you know. So I saw this opportunity of maybe putting development, redirecting our development mostly on the photography side, you know, so that we know that we've got a pool when there is projects that we need to do. We've got a pool of artists that we know that they have got a bit of a training on the photography. They can do some certain jobs for us, you know. We are intending on not ending this session just for once, you know, doing it just for once. Maybe we'll have the follow-up, you know, trainings as well, because my wish is that we can end up having an exhibition, you know, on photography, but I still need to discuss with my superiors, my bosses, on how we can do it, you know. But it's on the cards, it's on my line of thought, you know, that we're going to do something like that. I hope we'll work together until we reach a results that we want to attain. I think mostly, basically, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cool, can everyone hear me? All right, I'm just gonna take this off because I feel like it might muffle everything. Hi, I'm Erin. I'm a photographer. I studied at NMU, studied photography, absolutely love the medium. I do a little bit of painting on the side, but mainly just the photography side. So I'm gonna run through a couple slides today. Basically, I'm just gonna introduce photography I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to give everyone a bit of a background with the history of photography, where it came from, how it started, and then I will chat a couple other basics. And then if anyone has questions afterwards, please feel free to, ask them. Okay, cool. So basically, I'm going to get going. So we're starting with the history of photography. Photography, it's older than people think. Well, not exactly like standard photography, but like the concept of it. The physical camera actually took really long to develop, centuries in fact. There were a lot of inventors, a lot of researchers that went into it. The earliest mention of anything slightly resembling a camera dates back to the 4th century with the invention of the camera obscura. The camera obscura was originally a dark room, so really large dark room, had a small hole in the part of the room, and light would come into that room and would create basically a reflection of the image that was on the other side. The image would be upside down because light would travel from, so if this is the subject, the light would travel from there and there, so the image would come out upside down. But it was really cool. You can see in that picture, it's really small, but you can sort of see how it goes from that way, creates the upside down picture. So the camera obscura is now kind of known as the pinhole camera. You can actually make one quite easily, just with we've done it with a tin. You put a bit of photographic paper in the tin, open up the little hole, expose it, and then you have to develop it with chemicals and things. But it's really cool to actually play around with it. If anyone's ever keen to do it, there's a lot of YouTube videos on it. But yeah, so they actually created a portable box in the 17th century to form like a portable one for the first time. So it wasn't just this big dark room, it was an actual like little portable one. The first big breakthrough with the camera was made in the 19th century when the world's first photograph was taken by Joseph Niepce in 1826. His work was later continued by Louis Daguerre, who invented the daguerreotype method, which became the first commercially successful photographic process. So this is the first ever photograph. It was taken outside, like from Niepce's window. As you can see, it's super grainy. I think it was a very long exposure, but it's pretty cool to see, like from 1826, quite a long time ago. This is a daguerreotype, so this is what Louis Daguerre continued with. It's that standard creepy Victorian era image. Basically, it's got the very soft edges. Often it was a very long exposure, so people's eyes ended up looking very shady and like creepy, but that was just because, you know, they had to blink in between. But yeah, it's very cool to see how far it's come from there. And then the English sculptor Frederick Scott Archer invented the collodion process. This process required the photographic material to be coated, sensitized, exposed, and developed within 15 minutes of, like, in a darkroom. The problem with this was that the process needed a portable darkroom. So basically, they would actually travel with it was often sheets of metal with the photographic material placed on it. Then they would have to go, they expose it, and because it had to happen so quickly, they'd have to have a little box where they can go and fix it up. But it was a bit of a hack because of how quick it had to be done. And then in the late 1800s, portraits became very popular amongst wealthy society, and photography started making its way into newspapers, so it became readily available, not quite to the general public, but it was seen a lot more. It wasn't just sketches in the newspaper like it had been before. Then in 1888, George Eastman found his photography company and received the patent on the world's first camera to come out in rolls of film, and this became the Kodak company. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone kind of knows Kodak film. They still develop some film, even though it's really hard to get hold of these days. Kodak became the driving force of the worldwide boom in photography. They produced different films for beginners, enthusiasts, and professional photographers, so it made photography a lot more accessible to the everyday person. The first camera that they made was a lot more upper class, so the upper middle class was able to own the camera, but then in the early 1900s, they came out with a Brownie camera, which was a small little box, but it became readily accessible. It was a lot less expensive than the original cameras. But because of this popularity and this easy access to the camera in the early 20th century, many of the serious photographers felt that they needed to distance themselves from the masses who were still using photography to demonstrate like daily life. So they decided to use photography to force the medium towards the appearance of the paintings of the day. So instead of photographing something to look as clear and as sharp as possible, like we probably do these days, like trying to make it like look as photographic and perfect as possible, they were aiming to recapture that handmade look. So they were using the technology that they had to create these images that looked like they had been painted. So it was a very painterly process. That's why, like, if you look at that picture there, it is a photograph, but the way that they've processed it and developed it kind of makes it look like a painting, you know? The soft edges, the, like, coloring, so they were trying to create a painted image out of a photograph, and this movement became known as pictorialism. And you can see from Robert DeMarchi's 1895 piece there, which is really cool. But then there was a reaction to this, also in the early 20th century with photographers like Paul Strand and Walker Evans. They sort of said like, no, we're not going to do this painterly style. We're going to go like super straightforward photography, make it look as clear and as graphic as possible. So they moved away from that and started working with really high quality black and white photos. It was recognizable by the pin sharp photos, the rich tonal scale, and the ability to photograph everyday life and subjects using natural light. So all of their stuff was natural. But yeah, the technical skills were super important. They had to understand the camera, the aperture, the shutter speeds, the actual like film process. Like you can see in that photo, it's super sharp. Yeah, and that's Paul Strand. And then during the 1930s and the 1940s, there was a really big expansion for photo reporting, so pictures for magazines, and this is all before television, so this was the only way that people could report stuff. There was a growth within the professional aspects of photography for advertising, commercial, industrial, portraiture, medical, and scientific photography. They needed to use it so much more often. Everything was still mostly black and white because color film only grew in popularity in the 1950s. It was also extremely expensive. And then the 1960s saw a boom in the use of photography. Photography became part of the pop culture and consumerism that boomed after World War II. So after World War II, there was a big movement into consumerism. People started like spending a lot of money. Pop culture hit the scene, and photography was just a really great medium to use with like pop culture. I don't know if you guys have seen the Andy Warhol photos where it's like literally a photo, but they've, edited it to look like an artwork, I guess, but pop culture. It was great. Yeah, so easier to use cameras and equipment became readily available to the public, and suddenly a lot of young people wanted to use a camera because it was accessible and they wanted to actually it became a lot more relevant in the daily life of people. And then photography finally began to be taught in schools, university as an art form and not just a technical skill as it had been done previously. This changed in the it was very rare, however, to find galleries that displayed photographic work. So a lot of galleries still saw photography as this new, it wasn't seen as high art at that stage. In the 1970s, this changed though. Galleries started getting a bit more adventurous. I think it was also because of the different movements, the expressionism, the pop culture, things were getting a little wild, so they thought, cool, photography works as well. Then in the 1980s, color materials, which had suddenly become better quality, became way cheaper than they had ever before, and the general public now wanted to actually photograph things in color because it's so great to photograph in color. You get more of a scope from it. So yeah, people in the general public chose this much more over the black and white. And well-known artists like photographers also started using color instead of just black and white as well. Today we do have access to way less daunting camera equipment, which has allowed a lot of people to make use of the medium. It's easier to use. You don't actually need to understand absolutely everything if you just want to do some amateur shots. Obviously, if you want to get super professional and technical, it's great to know everything. But yeah, so it's become a lot more accessible and easy to use. But yeah. I don't know how much you guys know with regards to using manual or auto within your camera, if you use just auto settings or if you use manual settings. But there is quite a difference between the two, and I'm just going to lightly brush on that. So automatic, basically the camera does all the work for you. It's the easiest. It's kind of the first step for a lot of people. Camera does everything for you. It sort of will assess the scene, look at what's going on, say, okay, cool, this is how much of a shutter speed we need, this is the color balance we need, this is the ISO, this is the aperture, that kind of thing. So it'll do that for you instead. It's very easy to begin with. It's great for like when you're just starting out. The only problem is it can get problematic if you're wanting to get really high quality images. Because of course, if it is doing all the work for you, it might not assess the scene properly, or the shutter speed might be too slow, so you're gonna have a lens shake or like camera shake. The ISO might be too high, so then you're gonna have like grain and noise. Manual, however, you yourself will work out what you need, the settings that you need for the shot. So you'll be the one saying, cool, I need a shutter speed of 125 per second, ISO of 100 and an aperture of 5.6 kind of thing, like depending on your lighting, depending on the situation. It is a lot more challenging because you do need to understand the basic settings, I guess, and the terminology and the technical skills. However, if you use it correctly, it does produce the best quality images. So why would you shoot manual? Like I said, it just allows you to change the individual settings. It gives you a lot more control. It consists of 3 main aspects, so your shutter speed, your ISO, and your aperture. The other aspects are things like white balance, which is great to understand, like when you're first starting out, because you want your colors to be as well represented as possible. Sorry. So ISO is the International Organization for Standardization. In basic terms, it is simply the setting that will either darken or lighten your image. If you increase your ISO number, the image will brighten. If you decrease it, it'll obviously darken. ISO numbers can range from about ISO 60 to about ISO 6400. But the general rule is you want to use a lower ISO. As the higher the number, the more noise you're going to get, and that's obviously going to disrupt the image from like looking as clear as possible. Like you can see, I don't know how well you can see it there, but the first image is quite clear. It's on an ISO 200. The second image you can sort of see there is a bit of grain. It starts looking a bit like sandy, I guess, if I can say it any other way. Like her skin's looking like sandy and a bit mottled. But that's on an ISO 3200, which is super high. Obviously, sometimes you use that for indoor shooting, which is understandable. Like you can go up a couple ISOs. But generally, you want to keep it as low as possible. Then you get your aperture, which is basically, it can be defined as the opening in the lens through which light passes to enter the camera. So I don't know if you guys have, oh wait. It is an easy concept to understand if you think about how your eye works. When you move between a bright and dark environments, the iris of your pupils either expands or like shrinks. So I don't know if you've seen, like if you go into a dark room or if you're in a room, usually at night, your iris will expand. And as soon as you go outside in a dark, like a really bright day, it gets smaller again. And that's like basically the simple version of what an aperture is. The bigger it is, the more light is gonna come through. The smaller it is, the less light. So often when you use a really small aperture, so that's the bigger hole, you're going to get a soft focus as well. So that's, you know how when you do portraits, sometimes you want it to be really sharp, but then the background nice and soft. That's how you're going to use it. And then if you want everything to be super sharp, you're going to go for a really high aperture. So that's the little bitty hole, which creates like super, super sharp images. Yeah, so basically photography, the aperture is the pupil of the eye or the pupil of the camera, and you can shrink the aperture to let in less light and open it up for more light. And then you can sort of see how it works like that. Yeah, so basically you've got your F numbers 2, or actually you can go down to like 1.8 being the smallest number, but it brings in the most light. F16 being the smallest, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, mainly just the softness and sharpness. So, for example, if you're shooting outside on a really sunny day, say you're wanting to do a landscape. So, if you're shooting a landscape, you want absolutely everything in the landscape to be like super sharp. Otherwise, it might look. Well, you don't want to like if you're going to do a big professional landscape, you don't want things to be soft focus and stuff. So you'll shoot on the highest f-stop, so smallest little hole, like an aperture of 16. Because that'll let in least light, but it'll keep it as sharp as possible. If you're doing an inside portrait, for example, or if you're shooting, let's say, wedding photography, and it's a dark room, but you can still have that soft focus, that sort of dreamy look, I guess, if I want to put it in any other way, then you're going to open up to it like an f2 or an f1.8. And I can show you guys just now how to actually find those on your camera as well, if you don't know. Yeah, so that's basically how that works. I don't know if that's making sense. Okay, cool. And then lastly, the third, like most important thing is your shutter speed, and this is basically the length of time that the camera shutter is open and exposing light to the camera sensor. Essentially, it's how long your camera spends taking in the photo. When you use a long shutter or a slow shutter speed, you'll end up with like exposing a significant amount of time. It'll create a blur, which, so say for example, you're doing a car shoot, like just out of the blue, like you're doing a car photography shoot. You want that like slight blur because it'll look like it's moving really fast. So they often use like a slower shutter speed when they do that kind of thing, and then basically you can focus on the thing and move with the shot. So you're literally panning with it, and you'll get that nice blurred effect. A sharp shutter, or a fast shutter, has the opposite effect and essentially freezes the object like completely super sharp. Again, if you're doing what's it called, landscapes, however, you might do it on a slow shutter speed, because your aperture is as small as possible. So you're letting in very little light, but you'll probably be on a tripod with a slow shutter, so it will be super steady and you're not shaking, so it'll be nice and like sharp. Then this might make it easier, we've got the exposure triangle, so it'll just sort of explain how you've got your slowest numbers, your slow shutters, and then you can see there it's quite blurred, and then the faster your shutter, it gets like super sharp. And then here you've got your f-stop numbers, less light, super sharp, all the way, like your mountains are sharp in the background. You let in more light, so that'll be like an f1.4. The subject in the front is nice and like sharp, but then the background gets a bit blurry. And then again with your ISO, it's not showing as nicely just because of the screen. But your ISO 100 at the bottom there is nice and sharp, and then the further it gets, you can see it gets a bit gray. That's the noise. So yeah, the exposure triangle is a really nice way to sort of remember all those things. Yeah, so it really helps a lot. Are there any questions? Not? Okay. So just on what I've said there, oh, sorry. Just on what I've said there, when I mentioned I don't know if you guys all have your cameras here and everything here. Okay, so I don't know do you guys like know how to work the manual things? So like moving the shutter speed, changing the ISO, changing this. Do you guys all know that? Not. Okay, but then we can do like a bit of I can come around and we can sort of check things out. Yeah, we can do that. And then also what I wanted to mention when I spoke about the white balance, super important when like you're actually shooting, because auto white balance is going to read the room. It might come out. So for example, in here, we've got a lot of yellow light. So if you shoot auto, everything might come out a bit yellow, which will obviously, if you're shooting someone's like portrait, you don't want a yellow skin tone because it's just going to, it won't look right on the person's skin tone. Other times, like depending on often these lightings, like if you get fluorescence, people end up looking a bit green, and that just, isn't ideal. So what we often use, what you can use is just like a plain piece of white paper. So for example, this thing, you also get a gray card, which is a neutral gray. I got mine off Take-A-Lot, I think. But basically it's just a gray card. What you would do is, I'm just gonna put this down for a sec, sorry. What you would do is then come quite close, photograph it, so that the actual light that is in the room is reflecting onto it. And then I can show you guys when I come close to you guys as well. There's a setting that you can change it to custom white balance, but I'll come around and I'll show everyone. Which helps a lot because then, you know, you've custom white balanced everything, so it'll be like clear and visible according to the light that you're in. Obviously, if you go from in here to outside, you're going to have to white balance again because, you know, it's going to change. So yeah, I don't know if I can come around and check everyone's cameras and just sort of explain some things so long, if everyone's cool with that. Cool. Herbert, I'm just going to put this down. Cool, I'm going to be chatting on the mic. Okay, cool. So, what you often want to do is go into your settings there. And then your ISO is on 800 right now. So if you want, oh wait, are we on manual? Yes, amazing. So what you can do is go in there, change it for example, but you'll see how dark it gets, like as soon as you move it down. And as soon as you move it up, it gets lighter. Same with white balance. Oh wait, where are we?
Is this for the shutter speed?
Let me double check quick.
Because I've noticed the image, like
Yeah, that's shutter speed. So
shutter speed also
it gets,
affects the light.
yes, so like you can go up to like shutter speed like 125 and that's still going to be like stable enough for handheld, but check how much lighter it gets. And then we can go back there and then I'll show you guys the white balance, like that'll be white balance, you're on auto now. So what you can do, see how it changes with, like we're inside, but it kind of like inside cloudy tungsten light, that's kind of what we've got right now. So check how much like clearer the color went from here to there. It suddenly went like quite neutral and nice. But then if you do custom, we'll do that one there. So actually, let me just do a quick custom on there. So can you hold this for a sec? And then what we can do here is you'll come quite close. You'll basically only have that. And then you'll focus. Well, you don't really have to focus because it's so like,
Yeah, it's so close.
it's so close. Cool. And then you can go white balance. Oh wait, go back there. Where are your, there we go. Go there. Where's your, and then go into there. And then you just press OK. And then let's check with the viewfinder. See, it's suddenly quite neutral. So it's showing the actual natural color. So obviously if you go outside, you'd have to white balance again, but for now it's working for the inside of here. Yeah.
So like when you
It doesn't have to be like in focus, it can just be like as the images, if that makes sense. So you just need to make sure that you get the color. So you don't have to actually focus at all, you just need the color of the background. And then it's all good. So let's check yours. Okay, yeah, you've got your settings there. So white balance, you can literally go, okay, so we can take the photo first. Oops, sorry. So basically, so maybe put it on manual just for that second there, because you don't need to be like super in focus. Oh dear, that's weird. Let's just go back to your, oh wait, where are we? We can go there. Wait, I'm just going to do this quick. Wait, where's the off on button? Can you go back to the menu? Oh, no, yes, sorry, whoops. Okay, so just maybe look through your viewfinder and then just get just the color. And maybe go a bit closer in, so you want to just get the color only.
I think it's because of the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Aperture.
Oh, wait, what's your aperture on? 5.
Okay, that's on 5.
Okay, but basically what you would do is you'd take a photo and then you'd go there. It might come out funny now because of the darkness, but yeah, see, if it's too dark, it comes out green, which like looks super bad. So let's take another one. Maybe just do your aperture or 1/125th. Oh, wait. Just change your aperture to, or you can change your ISO actually. You can put that up a bit. Let's say 400. Okay, let's just check how bright it is. Oh yeah, much better. Okay, you can just, yeah, no, so we're going to fix that now. So take a photo. Okay, so it's green now, so you'll go back to your menu, custom balance, and that should, oh no, this is weird. Let's go white balance then. Sometimes the green, the gray does. See, there we go, sorted. So sometimes the gray works, sometimes the white works, but basically that's you will have to do it again though if you go outside, just, you know. Cool, let's check yours out. Cool, so you understand the manual settings or not so much? Okay, cool, so your aperture's on that, or on 1.8, so that means if you take a photo, it's going to be like super blurry on the outside, like on the background. But it works well for indoors. And this is, yeah, but it's also great because it means you can go down quite low, that lens. It'll still be bright even if you have it on like a 2.8, but that's a great lens. And then, yeah, so basically depending on where you are, obviously inside, your aperture can be a bit higher, your ISO can be a bit higher. I wouldn't go higher than 400 inside, or anyway, because otherwise, for the ISO, yeah. I wouldn't go higher than 400 inside, just because otherwise it will get a bit mottled. Also outside, yeah, 100 definitely. And then white balance, do you also want to check that out? Okay, so go down to AWB, so that's auto white balance. The AWB, that one, okay. So basically you'll see, you want to go to custom white balance, so all the way there. And then what we're going to, yeah, you can press OK. And then what we're going to do there, I want you to take a photo of the grey card. So you don't need to see background, so it can literally just be like that. You don't want background behind it because that might change the picture. You want to come in as close as possible. So maybe manual focus, because you just want this. Maybe manual, so on here you can manual focus. So that's when you focus it yourself. So you don't need to focus as long as it's just the color. Okay. So it doesn't have to be in focus. Or we can do the white card. But also it doesn't have to be in focus, because you're just wanting the color. You see? That's chill, it doesn't have to be focused. I just want to see the photo you just took. Oh, okay, wait. So just take one. So basically, oh, just hold this for a sec. What I'm going to have you do is just hold that for me like that. And then I'll show you after I've taken the photo. I'm just putting your aperture down a bit.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So you've got just the plain color. And then what you want to do is go menu. And then all the way to custom white balance.
Okay.
Okay, it should come out. Let's just double check. Yeah, see, suddenly it's like nice and like neutral color,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So every time you go outside or like you move indoors or outdoors, you might have to do it again, just to make sure that the color works. Yeah. That's great, thank you. Let me grab this. And then, yeah, so I don't know if you saw how much I did there.
Okay, but I just wanted to ask something.
Oh, that's a cool photo.
I like to use manual focus.
Okay, manual focus.
I'm a self-taught photographer.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
I'm having a little bit of challenges into making the background blur.
Okay, okay. So you want to know how to make it blur?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you will do, so you can make that speed way higher because that's going to be like 0.8.
Shutter speed,
Yeah, you want it like
maybe.
100, I would say. I would say like the easiest is like 100. It's always, yeah, so that's great. And then your aperture, if you want to make it quite like soft focus in the background, you can go all the way down to like a 5.6. And then ISO 200. Let's just go up to like 400 because we're inside. And it should then, you can go higher because it's quite dark in here. Sorry. So let's just say like you're going on an 800 there.
That's
But-
what Intel's.
Yeah, yeah. And then it should have a bit of a halo. If you can go lower, I don't know if this one can go lower. Okay, yeah, no, this is a 5.6. So with the 5.6, it won't go super, super blurry. If your lens can go lower than a 5.6, then it will go like super blurry. But if it can't go further than 5.6, it should be blurry though in the background. So that should make it a bit blurrier for you. But then as soon as you go higher up, it'll get like more and more sharp. So the lower your f-stop is, the more blur it will be, and then the higher it is, the more sharp it will be. And then do you want to understand the white balance thing?
Okay, just another question.
Yes.
As for I want to maybe just to capture emotion of a car, for an example.
Yes.
Now I have to come into my shutter speed. And then
Yes, so you might want to go not too low, but like let's say, like I'd say a F or like a 60 even. But then what you want to do, so if you want to shoot a car, like specifically you want to do a car photo shoot, you don't want the car going super fast. Like rather have it like relatively, like sort of going 30 k's an hour. And what you will do is focus on one part of the car. So if you're focusing on the window, you're going to move with the car as it goes past. So it will mean that you're getting the blur on the backside, but the actual part of focus is going to be nice and focused. So you can literally move with the car, and it'll create that nice motion, if that makes sense. Yeah.
because the challenge that I had, even though
Yeah.
I was having a little bit of moment of pause, and so that's
Yes, yes.
a chance to move.
Yeah, so if you can, so we call it panning. If you can pan with it, it'll give that nice, like soft, like movement effect. Yeah, yeah. Cool. The white balance. Yes. Cool. So basically, you can keep it at 60 for now. You're going to take a photo of this. Is it on manual? So let's just put it onto manual for a moment. And then just get the gray. So you don't need to worry about getting the edges of it. You can literally just take a photo of the gray. like that. Oh no, that's perfect. Let me just see it quick. It should work fine. If it doesn't, then... And then you'll go to custom white balance. And then let's just see if the color works, because it is quite... Oh, okay, wait. So first you'll go into these settings. And then you want to change your auto white balance to custom white balance. Yeah, and then we'll go back to menu, custom white balance. Let's just see if the color works, otherwise we might go into a, let's just see. Okay, yeah, so this is the problem. We're going to take a photo of the white side instead. Yeah, that's perfect, just like that. You don't need to worry about focus, you can just take the photo. Cool, so because it's green, sometimes the white paper works better. So we'll just do that. And then it should pick up the green light. And there we go, it's nice and neutral. So, yeah. Cool, awesome. Cool, I'm going to move on to you. Oh, okay. Oh, sure. Yes. With phone. Oh, okay, cool.
This is my everyday item.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm more into taking pictures of ordinary things.
Yes.
For example, this is
Oh, that's cool. Yes, I like it.
Don't mind the edits. Otherwise, just the black and white.
I like the black and white though.
Yeah, so.
It's nice because it's nice and sharp. Oh, sorry. It's nice and sharp and then it's soft in the background. Yeah, it's cool.
I also didn't go to school for photography, so
Yeah.
just trial and error. So
No, it looks good.
Any imagine mistakes there?
No, I think it's really cool. And the contrast is nice. That's one other thing that's really cool. If you can get like cool tones. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask that. Otherwise, we'll go into more detail with the actual thing.
Yes.
It's my first time fiddling with it. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if there is a card. I wonder if we can find a card.
A card, no?
Yeah.
No card, yes.
Let me find out. But is there maybe a card? Is there maybe a memory card that we can use? Is there maybe a memory card that we can use? Sorry. Awesome, thank you. Okay, here we go. So we can just, it should pop open there. There we go. Awesome. Just so that we can get the photo working. Okay, cool. So at the moment we're on program. So we want to go on to manual. So that's over there. Okay, and the shutter speed is super slow. So that's the shutter speed. At the moment it's 115.
It's going to be blurry on the outlines.
Basically, we naturally all have a bit of shake in us. So like, if you take a photo there, it might end up being like as if you dropped it a bit. So what you want to do is go in there. Here we go. You can just, sorry. You
Might
just-
as well put the microphone thingy down.
So let's say 100. Right, that's a nice easy number. Here we can, cool, so we can go down here, which is nice because it gives
What
you
is that?
that,
Is that the focus?
that's
or-
your aperture.
Oh,
So
aperture.
your aperture is going to is the keyboard. So if it's on
Yeah,
the,
I understand the concept of light and brightness. Yeah.
so this will add kind of like a blurred background effect.
Okay.
And then your ISO makes this kind of the brightness and stuff like that.
So it's ISO on 400. What type of images would I be able to? Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, if you're inside, it looks fully clear. Obviously, if you've got, if you're outside,
Like for which setup would you recommend that value there, like for 400? Maybe on the inside.
yeah, inside, if you've got extra light, you can go lower. But if you are shooting just with the like inside, then that's fine. And then you've got white balance. So at the moment, everything has a bit of a yellow coloring to it. So what you want to do is go in there, change your white balance to, or use the image that we have, and then it should come out nice and neutral. Yeah, all the colors are good.
Okay, and they're quite natural. So
Yeah, super natural colors.
nice, yes.
Yeah, so that
I
helps.
just wanted to get the basics of the camera first.
Cool.
Now.
Does that
Otherwise,
help
this
at
is my main thing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool, coming to you now.
This side I want to know is the manual focus side because I won't be using the autofocus inside.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you prefer the manual focus?
I want to duplicate that thing.
Oh, okay, okay, so that's pretty easy. I'm just gonna pop this down here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so that's the zoom. Okay, so yours is nice and easy. So this is obviously the zoom part. Then what you can do, so if it's focusing on his head, so your camera is quite great in a sense that, so you're gonna just, this bottom part here, it'll say we're looking at the hat. As soon as you turn it a bit, it changes the focus setting. So if we're looking at his hat now, it's nice and sharp. So it's mainly just that guy over there. Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else that you want to know? Is that all? Awesome. Cool. Also very nice camera.
Thank you.
Cool. Let me move over there. Cool. I am coming to you guys. Hey. All good? No.
Yeah, so I'm like a real newbie to this.
It's all good.
Not much.
Let me just see. Not as good with, what's this, a Nikon?
Yes, it's enough.
Okay, give me a sec, we're on manual.
Okay. You're looking for the manual and.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So at the moment, your white balance, like what would you like to know? Just all of those things.
So first of all, I was understanding what you were saying about the white balance, but what I wanted to understand was when I'm like fixing my white balance
Yeah.
in the image itself, what am I looking for? Like, what are the sort of indicators that I'm looking for to say
For the
that
color.
my white balance is correct?
Oh, okay. So basically, I'm just going to change the auto white balance here to, so the camera has its own little presets. So what you can see is that they've got their incandescent lights, they've got their cool white fluorescents, they've got those on there. But then you want to go into manual,
Okay.
right? And then what you'll do there, so say for example, we're going to take a photo of this guy. You can see everything's a little bit yellow there. So we'll just take a like casual photo like that. Go there. I just want to see if I can find it the same way. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Sorry, one sec. Give me a second. Sorry, I haven't really used the Nikon before. Okay. So then you'll obviously press OK on the image, color balance, and then just an OK, and then let's see if it came out okay. I'm just going to take a photo clip. Yes, everything looks a little more neutral now.
Okay, I see. what
Yeah,
you
so
mean.
that's basically all you need to do with the color white balance.
I
Yeah.
don't know if this is like for more advanced, or if you can just tell me at this, if you're gonna explain this at a later stage. But I have these like references that I took screenshots of. Okay, my bad. Okay, you know that dreamy type of like photography? where
Yes.
it's,
That sort of soft, hazy.
I really just
Yes.
wanted to show you the references, so maybe like you can still clearly see this. Would you say that this is like mostly achieved in post?
I would say that's a lot more in post. It can also be with a slow shutter speed, because her eye, yeah, that can be a slow shutter speed as well. Which, where would that be? That would be,
Okay, so this one would also be shutter speed because like the way her.
so this one would be, yeah, this is also slow shutter speed.
Okay, cool.
But it's what it is just like a slight, like you'll be holding it and you might just do like a slight,
Just movement.
just a tiny little movement as you shoot.
Okay, just like
Yeah.
movement on a slow shutter speed.
Mm, mm.
And then like I don't know if you were going through like the basics of everyone else, but yeah, I think you basically explained everything that was.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Cool. Cool.
First things first, I can't find my focus point.
Okay. How do you mean?
Like when I look through the viewfinder, I can't see it for
The
exactly.
points.
Yeah, I don't know what
Okay.
it's focusing on. And my shutter is there, what's happening to it?
Okay, let me quickly have a look. Do you want to hold this for me for a second? That is weird.
I know. And it doesn't focus quick.
Okay, so here's this thing. Actually, this might work. Okay, so what it might be, see that thing? I only found this out a while ago. It's so if you wear glasses and things, if it moves, it can work for glasses, so it should look sharp enough. Is it looking sharper?
Okay, the other thing,
Yeah.
it takes too long to focus. I don't know, is there like a setting?
And that just might be the lens. Some lenses are slower than others.
This is my favorite lens. Let's see this one. There we go. Okay. Pull this in.
What you can also do, I'm going to ask you to hold that one.
Oh yeah.
You can also go into manual focus. I don't know if you've used manual focus before. So that MF. Oh, is it? It is one way to go quicker. Some lenses are just a bit slow. Yeah, so that might be the only way to do it.
Okay. What else? Oh yeah, they don't have that. Let's move this to live view. Maybe I can. Where's my live view? Okay. The settings thing.
With the live view or?
The white balance.
Oh, okay, cool. So what you want to do is literally just like either with a gray card or with a piece of white paper. Yeah. So you're either going to work with just a gray card or with a plain white piece of paper. And then you can just take a photo of it. You don't need to worry about it being in focus.
Okay.
And then what you're going to do is go onto your playback and then your menu. And then on your menu, see there at the bottom it says custom white balance. So then you'll press OK.
Oh.
And then just double check how it looks. See, check how neutral it looks now,
Yeah.
the color. And like if you check further, it comes out really nice and neutral.
Okay.
Oh, but obviously if you move into another room, you would have
Then
to do
you
it
have to
again.
change it again.
Yeah. So it can be a bit of a hack, but it does come out with really nice photos. Yeah, cool. Is there anything else?
No.
Okay, cool. Who else is, was that everyone? Okay, cool. Cool. And are you guys good? Are there any other questions so long? For now, all good. Okay, cool, cool. Tomorrow I'm probably going to go more in detail on those things. So I'll go more into detail about all the different things like that. And then I will probably talk about editing as well. So I don't know if you guys use editing software at all yet? Yeah. Okay, so that I'll also chat with you about. So basically, I'm not entirely sure about those ones, but this will tell you about the zoom. So this goes either between 85 and 55. Then if you look over there, the 5.6 means that it can go down to like the ISO 5.6. So some lenses, this one for example, lets you go down to 1.8. So some lenses won't let you go all the way down, but then some will let you go all the way down, if that makes sense. Yeah. I just want to check, do you guys use editing software at all? Okay, what kind of stuff? Like Photoshop? Okay. Okay, cool. And Lightroom. Okay, cool. That helps me a lot because then I can prep for that. But yeah, cool. I think that's today for now. Does everyone feel okay? Yay, I'm glad. Cool. Yeah, let me just chat with Herbert quickly. Cool, so that's sorted. Yeah. But okay.
You are winning.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Um, Guys, this process is one of the processes that excites me the most because it's a hands-on process. And mostly, whenever there is a workshop of this nature, I always make it a point that we get as much ule section hands-on, because we must try and minimize the workshop and maximize the workshop. I'm not sure if you get me. That is actually what we are here for. The reason I'm saying that, I want you to be in a position to ask questions, to explore those devices that you're having to the fullest. So whilst we are having Erin here, you are welcome to question, voice your concerns, your understanding, even display the understanding of your device to all of us. I don't think that would be bad, so that we can be able to continue. However, now if you allow me, can we please just take a 15 to 20 minutes break? Just silulling out, because I mean we've been here since in the morning, so that when we come back we go to another level of what we're doing. Can we take a break now? Oh, before we take a break, now on a very soft note, guys, I'm very sorry. 100,000 apologies from me. I did not introduce our lenses, the camera guys. I'm so sorry. I thought Mr. Herbert was going to introduce them. Hence I said Mr. Herbert and the crew. So my apology, my brother. Ne? I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry to you too, my man. It's a song. Thank you so much. Can we take break, and then ngizophinda ndibethe insimbi and then we come back. When I'm coming back, I'm gonna be the bad guy. I'm gonna be the bad guy because I might be unpopular when it comes to this. I want us to talk about time so that in the morning we know what time we are expected to be here. Because really, it really disorganizes everything if some of us are left behind in our rooms and some are continuing and working, because we want to start at the same time so that we finish at the same time. Hence I was saying I'm going to be unpopular for this, but it's a must. It's one of those things that we must take note of. Time, time, time. Yes, there are those rules. Every space, even now, some tetwanyana and rules and all that. But I strongly believe that we are all adults. We will say one thing, what a flash.